All right, campers, rise and shine. Welcome back to the Benjy Podcast.
Welcome.
Welcome. Today, we're talking about it. You guessed it, Groundhog's Day.
And tomorrow as well.
And tomorrow.
Just kidding.
And other movies like Groundhog's Day. And as well as Click, which is in the similar vein. It's, it's all related. It's all connected somehow. And we'll get into that. But spoiler warning, it's going to be full of spoilers.
Yeah.
Full of spoilers. If you haven't watched it already, why, just go and watch it. Stop right now.
Especially Groundhog Day.
Especially Groundhog Day.
It's been out longer. It's better. It's a movie everybody should watch.
Yeah. And you could watch it again and again, and it never gets old.
Exactly.
So, Cal, what are your initial thoughts on this movie?
Groundhog Day, it is one of my personal favorite movies. I've put it up in I would say top 5. You know, objectively speaking, I don't know, it's probably not a top 5 movie of all time in terms of depth, in terms of acting and craft and story. But it is actually, unironically, a movie that I can watch over and over again. I've watched it many times with different people, and it's just very heartwarming, very great message, funny. I would say it's very funny, and the message is very deep and very beautiful, and it's not like very in your face. It's done extremely well. It's it's still entertaining while being while having a strong moral message or a lesson. It's also pretty quotable. So all around.
Oh yeah, what's your favorite quote? Just to put you on the spot like that.
There are definitely a few. I like at the end when she says, like, "What did you do today?" And he says, "Oh, same old, same old." Nice. I like when he says, "Do you ever have deja vu, Mrs. Lancaster?" And she says, "I don't know, but I can check with the kitchen." And then later, Rita asks him if he has ever gets deja vu, and he's like, "Did you just ask me that?" He's got a lot of lines like that.
Yeah, he's a funny guy, Bill Murray.
Yeah.
This was like probably at the height of his career, maybe.
Maybe, I'm not sure.
One of his, if not his most famous movie, other than Ghostbusters, I don't know. Like individual effort that I know of.
Yeah.
Solo performance.
I've never even seen Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm.
And Caddyshack, I know he's somewhat famous for Caddyshack too, but I only saw that movie once when I was drunk, and I don't really remember it.
Right, and he's also not like the major character.
Right.
I think he just lives in like a gopher hole and blows up gophers.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I saw some of his like earlier movies where he's like a counselor at a camp, and it was a different time completely. It was crazy how, like, you know, a lot of the things that went down in that movie wouldn't be, you know, considered acceptable today. So it's changed a lot, but definitely Groundhog Day. Groundhog's Day? Or Groundhog's Day.
No,
Groundhog Day.
Yeah, that's right.
Really? Okay, we'll get back into that in a second. But it's definitely withstood the test of time, I think.
Yeah.
It's hard to find fault in the movie.
And it's now almost 30 years later, and you can watch it now, and it's still like, oh, this is really enjoyable. It's a really great movie. There's another line I like near the end, by the way, where he's playing piano and he's getting better, and his piano teacher says, "It's pretty good, Mr. Connors. Did you say this was your first lesson?" And he says, "Yeah, but my father was a piano mover, so."
Right. And also when he's like performing like crazy at the end, she's like, "That's my student,"
right?
You know?
Which doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense from her point of view. She's taught him for a day.
Yeah, there's a few things at the end that start to make less sense. Both that line from her and the fact that Rita acts as if she's loved him for years at the very end. Like
we'll get into that, but yeah, I also had that issue.
Yeah.
Where like the one time Rita, you know, actually does like him is when he's doing everything else but talking to her. He's like helping everyone else out.
Yeah.
And then she's like, "Oh, I love him."
No, but I
think it doesn't make.
Yeah, Because why is there even a starting point for them for her to think that like this could be a thing?
Right.
Because maybe he's just okay. Maybe he is a really great guy actually, and you had no idea, and he actually is.
Right. But she moves pretty fast in one day, despite him doing nothing to try to curry her favor. He's just jumping from ice sculpture to helping, the poor guy or someone choking. He has no time for her that day.
Yeah. There's not enough time in that last day for him to also court her.
Mm. So Groundhog Day.
Indeed.
It's not the day. It's not the Groundhog's Day. It is the day of the groundhog.
That's right.
It's Groundhog Day.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. I think if you were to poll people, I think a lot of people, like half of people, would call it Groundhog's Day.
I don't know, but
the day itself is Groundhog Day, right?
The day is Groundhog Day. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, a synopsis. Would you like to give a quick overview of the movie?
So, synopsis of the movie. Quick.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll definitely repeat a lot. We'll come back to Groundhog Day over and over.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty much the same every time that we talk about it, but just a little bit different. Hopefully we'll improve a bit each time and eventually converge to really understanding the movie.
Exactly. If you didn't get what Benji just said, well, stop listening because that means you probably haven't seen the movie, so go and watch it instead. But a quick synopsis of Groundhog Day is you have Phil Connors, who's a weatherman, and he's pretty arrogant. He's pretty full of himself. He refers to himself as the talent in the very beginning of the movie. And he does this thing every year, at least this is the 4th year that he's done it, where he and a few other of coworkers from the weather studio, they go to Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania to cover the Groundhog Festival. And the Groundhog Festival is when these small towners, they have a groundhog, and the groundhog talks to somebody in groundhogese or whatever, and it takes place on Groundhog Day. And the idea is that if the groundhog sees his shadow, then there's going to be 6 more weeks of winter, and if he doesn't see his shadow, then winter's going to end early. I don't know exactly when winter's going to end, but soon.
In the movie, just to interject, it doesn't seem like he sees his shadow at all. He just the handler of the groundhog just puts him to his ear and then just decides whatever he wants. There's going to be more winter. Maybe he checked the the Farmer's Almanac or the Weather Channel.
I'm with you. I have no idea whether. I doubt anyone is actually talking to the groundhog, and
but there's no shadow involved. They don't even put it in the light.
Okay, interesting. You don't see his shadow in the movie.
Yeah.
No.
And it makes me think that wait a second, in the ceremony, maybe it's all a lie. Maybe there's no shadow viewing.
Yeah, well, Rita kind of says that in the beginning, where it's he sees a shadow, he doesn't see a shadow. What does it matter? It's just good fun. Something like that.
Yeah, but obviously the groundhog's not actually predicting the weather based on his shadow.
Oh, okay, that's what you mean. But you want him to at least see his shadow or not.
Yeah.
I see. Well, yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. Maybe the whole thing's a scam.
Maybe.
But anyway, so Phil and his coworkers, they go to cover this event as the weather people, the news people, and Phil is going to do a quick thing oh, here's the people seeing a shadow, blah, blah, blah. And this is his 4th year doing it. So they go and they have to spend the night in Punxsutawney because they have to drive up and they're planning on coming back the very next day to Pittsburgh. But they get stranded in Punxsutawney because of the blizzard that Phil says wasn't going to happen. And then Phil wakes up. So Phil, he spends another night in Punxsutawney. Phil and his coworkers, Rita and Larry, they spend another night in Punxsutawney. And then Phil wakes up and it's Groundhog Day again. And this happens over and over again. He can never get out of Groundhog Day. He can never get to the next day, which is the day that he was supposed to leave Punxsutawney and go back to Pittsburgh. He's stuck in this time loop where he's living Groundhog Day over and over again. And the way the movie does it is where he basically remembers, his consciousness continues through to the next iteration of Groundhog Day as if it is the next day. But for the rest of the world, for the other characters, for Punxsutawney, everything just resets. Everything goes back to exactly the way it was at 6 a.m. on Groundhog Day every day. And that's the movie, and he goes through a number of phases, and he tries to get out of it. Eventually he gets dark, and he tries to commit suicide out of desperation of getting out of this terrible fate. And then he eventually learns to become a better person and use all the knowledge that he has accumulated on Groundhog Day to help people and make Groundhog Day the best possible day for everybody in Punxsutawney and looking out for everybody. And he becomes a saintly, popular individual. in Punxsutawney on this one day of Groundhog Day, because it's one day from the perspective of everybody else. And he gets the girl in the end because he falls in love with Rita, who's the coworker, the producer from the weather studio. And he has many attempts to try to woo her during this whole series of events, but he always fails. And the only time he actually wins her heart is when he doesn't try to woo her, as Benjy was saying, and instead spends the whole day helping other people.
Mm-hmm. When he's completely selfless, then,
right?
then she likes him.
Yeah, and that's also the final day. That's when he finally gets out of the time loop, when he acts completely selflessly and uses this time loop to help other people.
Mm-hmm. I will say that to me it seemed like he liked Rita from the get-go, even when he was like a cranky guy, because when he's getting together with, one of his flames, the first one, Nancy,
yeah,
he calls her Rita.
Oh yeah, it's pretty clear.
Nancy, Rita, whatever.
Yeah, well, even when he first sets eyes on her for the first time back in Pittsburgh in the very, very beginning of the movie, it's clear that in his facial expression he sort of pauses and he sort of like is taking her in, and he thinks she's beautiful, or he thinks like
really?
she just has like a good look to her. Yeah,
because to me it seemed like he was like being a jerk to everyone, including her.
Well, he was kind of a jerk at that point in the movie,
right.
But I think even in the very, very beginning he liked her.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
I think maybe they even like break character a bit, because it seems like they're laughing in the truck and stuff. He's making faces and trying to be like a jerk, but she's like kind of laughing at him, and it's like it still seems under everything there's still some chemistry there, or she doesn't think that he's a complete jerk.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if it's breaking character or if like they meant for that to happen.
I think they meant for that to happen.
Yeah, that she was supposed to like smile like him, even though he's being a jerk and making fun of her.
I think so, because that's how they get the foundation going for them to be.
I guess it just seems like they'd want to start it with him just being a complete jerk and like her not liking him, because she rebuffs his advances a lot at first, and then it would seem that like, okay, Bill Murray's a funny guy, you're gonna break character.
No,
you can't just like.
Yeah, I don't think so, because it is a trope in fiction, and I think it is something you see in real life as well, where sometimes a classy woman will be somewhat attracted or intrigued by a guy who she views as rather uncivilized or not a very good man, but she sort of thinks to herself like, if only he was a better man, this would be great. Like I am attracted to him, but he needs to be better. Mm-hmm. That sort of thing.
So like playing it cool, but secretly hoping that he continues to advance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things I just thought of now, why do you think that they chose Groundhog Day?
Why do I think they chose Groundhog Day?
They could have chosen the 4th of July. Was it just that there was nothing really special about Groundhog Day? It was available. Maybe there's something about, the groundhog doesn't see a shadow or whatever, so he predicts more winter all the time, and the winter never stops. And the idea is that like the winter is his, time loop that he's stuck in. Except, and I guess the blizzard is the winter, and then like eventually it stops snowing. It's not that winter's over, but like the winter storm is over, and then he's able to move on. That's the only connection I could think of.
Yeah, I like that. I think that he even makes that parallel with winter when he towards the middle, when his first stage is kind of a hedonistic stage, and then there's the depressed and misery stage, and then there's the altruistic stage. So when he's first entering his depressed, miserable stage, he's doing his broadcast at the Groundhog Festival, and he says, "This winter is never going to end as long as the groundhog keeps seeing his shadow. So somebody has to stop it, and I'm gonna stop it." He realizes that he has to like kill the groundhog and himself to get out of this time loop. Well, at least he thinks that's his theory as to how to get out of the time loop. So there is that parallel. I think also perhaps it helps that it's Groundhog Day, because it helps that in the beginning he views this whole thing as just this thing that's just beneath him. Like, fine, he has to like go through this. He has to do this for work. He has to just like say these lines, pretend that this is some cool thing or some joyous thing. But in his mind and heart, he's like, this is ridiculous. This is so dumb. But you can't really do that with 4th of July or Christmas or something like that.
Right. And, the whole essence of Groundhog Day is that it is kind of stupid. It's silly. It's a scam. The groundhog doesn't see his shadow. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But it's not about that. And he thinks, it's about this thing is stupid, that's it. But it's about everyone coming together, being authentic, enjoying, being a community, and reaching something deeper. It's not about the groundhog. He thought it was about the groundhog at first. It wasn't about that.
Oh, okay.
So that might be like an epiphany that should have come later in the episode. But we're going to, I don't know, go deeper.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We're finished with the synopsis, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I wanted to talk a bit about other movies and that followed the same principle, the same stuck in the time loop, with different takes on it. Okay, so first one, Palm Springs. It's, I don't know, it came out 15 years ago, I want to say, maybe 10. It's got Andy Samberg and the lady from How I Met Your Mother, the mom. Spoiler alert.
Okay.
The woman with the yellow umbrella.
Yeah. The mom.
Yeah. Doesn't play a major role, but technically she is like the mother that he met. And the idea there, the differences are it's multiple people stuck. So the idea is Andy Samberg's stuck at this wedding, and he's stuck in the time loop, and he, by then he's given up. He just interrupts the wedding, the bride, the groom, the best man speech. He's just going crazy, doing his thing. Everyone thinks he's like a psycho. And he's hooking up with all the women. One time he tries to hook up with this girl from How I Met Your Mother, and then he gets shot with an arrow, and she's like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, Roy, not Roy. And then he crawls towards a cave that has like something going on in it, and she follows him. He's like, no, don't follow me in here. He crawls in, Roy goes in, and she goes in. And then all of a sudden, the next day she wakes up, she's like, what's going on? And then she, gets upset at him. Now she's stuck in this time loop. And this other guy, Roy's stuck in this time loop because Andy Samberg partied with him and he was like, oh, I wish this day could last forever. And he's like, follow me. But they were like really high on cocaine. And so they went into this cave. And
so Andy Samberg knows about the cave and what it'll do?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the first time he regretted, letting Roy in, but he was also high on cocaine, and he also didn't want the other girl to come in, but she did. So now they're all stuck. Roy's trying to kill him all the time. And, they go through the same thing as in Groundhog Day, the hedonistic phase, the blah, blah phase. But, where they try everything, they go crazy, they die, they come back. If they just fall asleep, then they come back also. So the cave is like related, but if you fall asleep, it doesn't matter. Like once he got as far as New Guinea, high on crystal meth, trying not to fall asleep, and then he just woke up there at the same time. So one difference is, he tried to go further and not try to fall asleep. In Groundhog Day, we don't really see him not try to fall asleep. And the big difference is that it comes down to like some quantum mechanic time loop wormhole thing. It's not an act of God. It's not even an ambiguous act of God. It's just a fluke. It just happens. Sometimes you get stuck in a time loop. So it kind of changes the whole idea because they don't have to necessarily be good people to get out of the time loop. Eventually, they just like blow it up with dynamite, and then they get out of it. But they did go through a learning experience, but they didn't necessarily have to. And then they became better people, less nihilistic. And there's this whole back and forth between Niles, that's Andy Samberg, saying that like, oh, it's like a chocolate bar, the previous bites don't matter, only the current bite. And Sarah, the other person, he's like, the past matters because otherwise how can you learn who you are? So it gets a lot into, Andy saying every day doesn't matter. I'm just gonna take it day by day. I don't give a crap anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Sarah's like, no, it matters what you do to people, even if we're repeating the same thing over and over. She doesn't like how it makes other people feel. So that's Palm Springs. So even though Roy had a perfect day, he was still angry. So like, even I imagine if you had a perfect day to live over and over, you wouldn't want to be stuck in a time loop.
No.
Even what about this perfect day? How many days would you want to be? Not even.
You're saying if I had the option to relive a very good day,
Yeah.
some number of times,
Yeah.
would I take it? And I knew that I could get out of it afterwards?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
How many? Like once you start, you have to live it out. You can't stop in the middle.
100.
100?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that too. Because there's a lot of power that would come.
Yeah.
You could.
Especially if your 101st day is then just the day after your 100th day. So you have 100 tries to make this day as optimal as possible, which could set up the rest of your life.
Right. Like you could have figured out how to win the lottery, but you have to get it all right on the last day.
Yeah.
So, but you could, practice a whole bunch of stuff. You could relive that same day over and over. You could also technically do all sorts of hedonistic stuff during that one day.
During your 100 days or during your 100th day?
Not on the 100th day, presumably, that one would count.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of the days.
Yeah, you could. But I don't know. Because once you... I don't know about that. Because once you are not in a true time loop where there's no end in sight, and you know that it's only 100 days, so is it so different from just there's now 100 extra days of your life, and 99 of them are just the same. So you can't necessarily do anything you want because that's going to have consequences, at least for your own psyche. Like, basically, what I'm saying is because you know that you're going to go back into your real life in 100 days, it's more rational to use the 100 days to try to optimize the day for the future rather than living for the now. Just as living right now, you could do hedonistic things now that might have short-term gains, but would not produce long-term benefits. Here too, you could do short-term gains that would not produce long-term benefits. It is more rational to go for the long-term benefit because you know you're going to go back into your real life in 100 days.
Well, okay, so then just choose 200 days instead. Spend 100 days doing whatever you want if you're limited.
Technically, you still have then the same calculation, but
okay.
Very well.
And second, I'm sort of talking about things that you don't necessarily want to have any of those long-term consequences. So if you've always wanted to try crystal meth, I don't know, heroin,
mm-hmm.
if you've wanted to beat someone up, some stranger, go all Grand Theft Auto with no consequences, you can't do that in your normal life because you're not going to reset.
Yeah.
So...
Although I question the morality of beating somebody up even in a time loop. Because they do feel pain when it happens, and they feel pain for the rest of the day that it happened in, and then it resets.
Right. So that's another concept that I want to talk about. Like, it depends on the mechanic of this time loop.
Mm-hmm.
If these are NPCs, if you're stuck basically in a simulation, then maybe there is no, there's nothing wrong with, even stabbing someone because they'll just reset. If this is a multiverse situation where each time you wake up, you just wake up in a separate universe where everything hasn't happened yet, but that other universe continues to run, then maybe it's, then it is problematic.
Okay. Those are the only two options, right?
Those are the only two options that I could think of. Although there is what if you know that the universe was going to end at the end of the day? Does that mean that you could just start killing people? No. So it's not just a matter of this universe is going to stop and I'm just going to be transferred to a new one, like an NPC. I guess it matters whether they actually feel pain or not. Yeah, I don't know. It's a tricky question. It's completely hypothetical, but I don't know. I guess a parallel would be if someone didn't feel pain and could go in a machine that just fixes them automatically, and you beat them up without their consent, I guess. You beat them to a pulp, but you gave them morphine before, and they forget everything, and their body's completely repaired. Is that immoral? Which reminds me of Westworld. Have you seen Westworld?
No.
So the concept there is that it's a little different because these aren't really humans. Although the whole question is, do these count as humans? They're robots that feel emotion, and they're they're based off of humans. They're printed, and the humans get to abuse. It's like a big park, and they get to do whatever they want to these robots. They shoot them, they have sex with them, whatever, rape them, and then the next day they like wipe the robots' memories and put them back together, and then they forget everything that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is that you could do whatever you want, and that these robots don't have feelings, but they're like flesh and blood robots, so they're not even just like silicon,
Mm-hmm.
which maybe you have a different opinion on because you care about the materials consisting the human. Because I think we've spoken about this in the past, that like
It's not that the material is the thing I care about. It's that you certainly have to consider the material as well as considering the functionality.
right, if you
You
just
can't-
have a lump of flesh, it's dead. Like you have to have the human, the life, and the material, according to you.
At least.
Okay, at least.
Yeah.
And I'm of the opinion that human consciousness is a pattern, and therefore it doesn't matter the substance in which it takes part. But anyways, what are your thoughts on what's your alternative to how everything could be happening?
I don't think it necessarily requires this scientific or rational explanation. You don't need NPCs, and you definitely don't need a multiverse. It could just be it's the world. And to Bill Murray, he's reliving the same day over and over again, but each day is like the only day for every other character. So if we looked at the perspective of Rita, for example. So Rita travels to Punxsutawney with Phil and Larry in the van from Pittsburgh. They check into their hotels, whatever. They go to sleep. They wake up. They have Groundhog Day. Rita experiences it the same way Phil experiences it the first time. The second time, Rita experiences that day as Groundhog Day. The third time, Rita experiences that day as Groundhog Day. Like, it's just, that's the way I don't need to explain how that happens, but that's effectively what happens. That's all you need to know.
But you have to think about how that could possibly happen. Like, what is Rita then, in order to consider the morality and the implications of immoral actions towards these people?
Rita is exactly who she was before Groundhog Day, except that now she's living in this day, in whatever day Phil is currently living in. So Rita, before Groundhog Day, was Rita. It was immoral to just kill her. She was a conscious being. And now Phil is living in some iteration of Groundhog Day, and there's Rita. And this is Rita 12 hours after the Rita before Groundhog Day.
But what happens to her after let's say she dies during Groundhog's Day? Does she experience all of these things? Is it just one version of her, one universe of her that experiences it? Because that would be a parallel universe.
No, it could be the same universe. It could be that the Rita that Phil experienced in like the 200th iteration of Groundhog Day, that Rita was real when it happened, but then we get to the 201st iteration of Groundhog Day, and that Rita no longer exists because that was the Rita in the 200th iteration. So now,
so she died. She ceased to exist.
well, if you look at that version of Rita as Rita, who was living her whole life up and then included the 200th iteration of Groundhog Day, if you consider that version of Rita, yes, that version of Rita no longer exists. Rita didn't die though, because Rita now is the version where she is up to Groundhog Day and then the 201st iteration.
Okay, but then if she doesn't exist anymore, then maybe there's nothing wrong with, doing some immoral action.
Well,
if she never like, I mean, I guess the equivalent would be if the whole universe ended. That doesn't mean that you could just be immoral towards someone.
Right, that's a good challenge to that. And also, it's not a question that we can have that conversation. That's a consideration, which I still think is wrong. But that doesn't mean that she's an NPC or that she lives in an alternate universe.
But she keeps ceasing to exist.
Okay.
So it just sounds like, okay, from, I don't know, for everyone, they live their normal lives and they don't experience any, recurrence of Groundhog Day.
Mm-hmm.
And what they really experience is the final iteration, the final day of Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
And everything that happened before just gets thrown out. Those memories are wiped.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it didn't even happen. In fact, it didn't happen.
It happened for Phil.
It happened for Phil. But I don't know. Something's not adding up if they just like stop existing. Then it sounds like it doesn't really matter and that they never experienced it.
Well, we're jumping to the moral question. Can we first just establish that you don't have to limit yourself to NPCs, which I reject, and multiverse, which I think is just an added thing that we're adding onto it. There's nothing that necessitates the multiverse. It's just they were in the 200th iteration, and then they know that no longer happened. That was reset. And then there's 200th iteration.
So how I see your third alternative is as if you take Rita, freeze her in a box,
okay,
clone her, and send out the clone. And then, after a day, you dispose of the clone, or the clone just gets vaporized. And you keep sending out the clones, and then the final day, or you just, whoever's the last clone becomes the real Rita. So then, if it's immoral to do things to clones, but that's how I would reduce that alternative. It's just either multiverse, clones, or NPCs.
I don't think we need the clones either. The clones are another way of explaining it, sure. But we don't really need the clones either.
I think we do. I think we have to explain what that means. Like, a clone, is it immoral to do something to a clone? If I cloned you exactly, took your atoms, theoretically it's not possible without destroying you to make a clone of you.
Why?
From a quantum mechanics perspective, in order to know the position of every atom, you have to, like, affect it, and like measure it, destroy it, whatever. You could probably do it to a lesser degree of,
exactitude.
Resolution. Yeah.
Resolution.
You get a Kalish clone.
Okay.
Now.
Nothing like the original.
Right. Trademarked, It's immoral to do something to that?
Probably. It's a hypothetical. I don't really know what a clone is. I don't quite know the moral ramifications around a clone yet because it doesn't exist yet, but probably.
Okay. Probably.
Yeah.
You're saying if there was, if it's too much like a robot, then there's no problem.
If it's human,
enough human.
If it's human, it's not machinery. It's somehow we've replicated the human body and the organisms are still working and it's living, then certainly, we should act as if it is wrong to harm that being. Well, regardless of what we know about the humans, about the being's soul, we should act as if it's wrong because it's at that point too close.
Mm-hmm. And just for the record, I would treat a silicon-based life form clone the same as a meat life form, just to make it clear for our audience. And
we talked about this back in episode 4, which was a poor sound quality episode. We should hash it out again sometime.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, and my take on morality is that it's obviously something that we project onto the world from like a scientific point of view. There's no such thing as morality. I think scientists that try to explain why we should be moral don't really have a place to stand, except that like it's more optimal for human nature and society to be moral. But from a scientific point of view, we're all just atoms. But I think Cal has a different take on that.
Yeah, I disagree.
Right, because we have a spirit, a soul endowed by God.
Yeah, and also I think morality is objective, and I think that's something that certainly that there's like an objectivity to morality. Not that everyone's moral opinions are objectively true, or that my moral opinions are objectively true. There is an objective morality, and we all have kind of subjective understandings of it, or subjective attempts to grapple with it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And just for, posterity, just to cover other media with the same tropes that, I did the work to make sure to cover everything just so that our audience is aware of it. So Futurama also, Fry gets a remote that winds back 10 seconds, and then time breaks. Fry and Leela they live their whole lives together, and then it's reset back to the beginning. That's probably more similar to Click, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
Rick and Morty, they do an episode where Rick gives him a remote that resets himself, and Morty uses it for like the smallest thing. So it's like Groundhog Day, but he could reset himself whenever he wants. So he'll go up to like Jessica, his crush in school, and like he'll try it over and over until he gets it right.
It's like a video game, like reloading a save.
And in fact, when he would play video games, he would reset himself as opposed to just like, he'd be like, oh, I know that I have to jump here. It's even better than resetting a real video game because things change in a real video game. Usually, you have to jump at it. If you restart the level, then things are going to be a little different each time.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So he would even use it to reset it there. So he'd use it for the smallest things, and then eventually, like, he falls in love with another girl, and they live like their whole lives together. And then his father finds the remote and like just presses it because he doesn't know what it does, and so it resets him back, and like this girl doesn't know who he is, and he's like, what, but we lived the whole life together. She's like, get away from me. And so he's like miserable.
It wouldn't always reset him to the same time.
It would reset him to when he last pressed
the
button. Yeah. Save. Yeah, something like that. The mechanics aren't exactly clear, but here's the real kicker. He goes back to Rick, and he says, I learned my lesson. It's, we have to live with the consequences of our action. It's given me a lot of perspective, seeing what I do to other people. Like, he would also, like, be terrible to other people. He's like, I finally get it now. You could, you could have this back. And Rick's like, oh, you don't get it. Every time you press the reset button, you killed yourself in in a different reality, and I just put you in that reality. And so it turned out he was just murdering himself in a separate reality, and just to have him placed into that reality without him noticing. And he died billions of times horribly in like terrible ways. Mm-hmm. And so
the Morty Holocaust.
The Morticaust, yeah. Or the Morty, exactly. And so Rick's like, you've been prestiging yourself. Have you seen The Prestige?
Yeah.
So another spoiler, the whole thing is the guy would like appear at a different part of in his magic show. He'd appear randomly, and everyone would be like, how'd you do that? How'd you disappear? And it's because he would be killing himself in one side, and a clone of him would appear on the other side. Mm-hmm. And he didn't know it or something. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
No, he knew it.
He knew it? I thought he only finds out at the end.
No. The Hugh Jackman character in The Prestige is fully aware of what he's doing. But he would say they leave it kind of interesting and ambiguous, because it seems that like sometimes his consciousness would go into the clone and sometimes it wouldn't. He says he wouldn't know whether he would be the one in the tank or the one who shows up at the other side of the theater.
But the audience only finds out at the end.
Correct. Well, I don't know if the audience ever finds out. The audience of the movie, you mean?
Yeah.
Us in the world.
Us, yeah.
We find out at the end.
But you're saying Hugh Jackman knew the whole time. It's just there was like a 50-50 chance of him being the clone.
That's what it sounds like. But yeah, Hugh Jackman is fully aware, and that's part.
But if he repeats the same trick over and over, eventually he's just going to kill himself. If it's a 50% probability.
No, for sure. But that's I think that's part of the point. That's how
he was
obsessed
committed to it.
Yeah, the only thing that mattered at that point was the act. His life didn't matter. It was the act.
I see. That was the point. It wasn't also that like it's indistinguishable. A clone from ourselves. I mean that was.
I don't think so.
Okay.
That's not the point I got.
Right. Okay. And there's another show that I've been watching called Russian Doll. It's even more modern. So it also has multiple people stuck in the time loop, which changes the dynamics. If Bill Murray was with other people, then it would change it.
Less lonely.
Less lonely. You could work together. Um, and the differences there are that like small things do change over time, so it's not exactly the same. Like if there's a guy who was going to get engaged, and then he was just like so upset, and he would go back to the woman and like go over the breakup argument over and over until like he eventually like became became okay with it and was willing to move on. He threw it away, and then the engagement ring just disappeared the next time he was in the time loop. And then it turns out they have to, these two people stuck have to really save each other to get out. And it's a little different because, it's very different because it's set in NYC, in New York City, and it's not the traditional conservative values that we would see in Groundhog's Day. So how I saw it was like there's, Groundhog's Day and then Palm Springs and then Russian Doll. And it keeps taking it like even more liberal ideas and even more or it's more explicit about it. Like in the Russian Doll one, there was, definitely casual sex, orgies, drugs, blah, blah. I guess in Groundhog's Day there was that, but it was a little more subtle. Palm Springs.
It's just Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day, yes, sorry. And it focuses more on love for friends, which is, at the end of the day, all of these shows are about love and finding, loving others and not being selfish. They all start with characters that are all wrapped up in their own lives. Mm-hmm. They don't really care about anyone but themselves. But like it's different in Russian Doll, they still are, like the main character is still whatever, normal to other people. It's not like they are nice to everyone. They still, it's New York, they're all yelling at each other. In Groundhog Day, he eventually becomes this perfect person, He's able to save every single person. If they're choking to death, whoever was going to like fall out of a tree that day. And then he eventually just started, I guess by the end, every day he would have this schedule where he would just save everyone and do his best to just like be perfect, which is super tiring. And not like the lesson that this show does or Palm Springs. These shows relax. It's just about being, realistically loving your friends, not being all wrapped up in yourself. But you don't have to like be perfect and develop this schedule that, is just above and beyond. Like Bill Murray, it's crazy. I don't know. What are your thoughts on him saving everyone every day, even though they're just going to choke the next day, and just living do you think that he just did that the last day, or was he like developing this slowly and slowly, saving everyone's lives and everything?
Oh, the latter, certainly. I think it's definitely implied that he was working on the altruistic phase doesn't just last one day. He was working on helping people each day for a while.
But it's not just like helping. This was like
an
insane routine. Every day, the same guy is going to choke. And he just goes and saves him every day. The same kid's going to fall out of the tree.
Yeah. What do you say? What do you say, you little brat?
What do you say?
You have never thanked me.
Exactly. And like, just chew before you eat. He says it, even though he doesn't change. Nothing changes.
Yeah. He probably has a little variation into each day. I doubt he says the exact same thing every time. And
yeah, but how do you ever get to that stage?
How do you get to the stage where you are...
Like, I guess if you're a doctor, it's not like you show up to the hospital and you're like, another guy choked to death. Like, I can't deal with it. Like, people have to chew their food. Mm-hmm. But still, the guy's going to be alive the next day if Bill Murray doesn't save him. unless we go, with the interpretation that this is a real person that you have to save, even though he ceases to exist at the end of the day. But like any reasonable, realistic person would just give up on trying to save that guy.
Yeah. Well, so I don't think the point is that this is what you should be doing in a normal day that doesn't repeat forever. The point is, I think that Bill Murray found a way to make his existence meaningful to him. Or he found a way to make the best out of his existence. And his existence was one where he was living the same day over and over again. And he went through a few different ways of how to approach that. So this means I can just do whatever I want and I can just have fun each day and there won't be consequences. But that ends up feeling terrible. I'm not enjoying this anymore. This sucks. Okay, so then this really just I hate this and I just want to get out of it. I just want to kill myself or just stay in bed or whatever. But no, this also really sucks. And maybe there is some way to make this better. And he just realized that, hey, actually, when I lived this day the first time, I didn't know, and in order to save the old man from dying or the guy from choking on his steak, he didn't even know that was happening and he didn't care. And then even when he didn't know what was happening, he didn't know enough to stop it. And now I guess I could stop it, and I'll just give that a try. Maybe that's a good way to maybe that's a good way to live given this reality that I'm in.
So I would still say that is a level that I don't think I could even get to if I was stuck in a time loop forever, just because of the sheer willpower, effort, planning, and just stamina to keep doing it day after day. Mm-hmm. I would maybe hazard to guess, based off of how you're saying it, that it's like a stage, that maybe if he hadn't broken out of the time loop, he would eventually get tired of that.
Maybe, I do wonder that myself. Would you if that really were to go on forever, would you eventually get tired of that as well? I'll be like, I've done this 1,000 times. I've saved this guy's life 1,000 times. It's the same day over and over again. I'm reverting back to misery stage, and then I'm reverting back to hedonistic stage. Maybe it's this long cycle.
That would make more sense to me.
It's possible.
How you said it, it was an idea of his to live altruistically. Just take that for a spin. See how it is.
Yeah.
And wow, it actually happened to work. I don't think there's any sense in the movie that he's trying to do this to get out of the time loop either.
Yeah, no.
It seems like it's just
he's accepted it at this point.
He's accepted it and he's just trying, something new.
Yeah. But I say the point about if it had continued to go on forever, would he have eventually gotten sick of even the altruism? I think that's fair, but I also think that that's okay. That doesn't really negate the point of the movie. The point of the movie is that this guy who would have never acted this way in his own life got himself to a point where he was acting this way. Even if it wasn't going to keep up, if he had to stay in that time loop for another hundreds of years, he wouldn't have been able to keep it up forever. That's okay. Just the fact that he got there, that means something.
Mm-hmm. And probably when he gets out of the time loop and goes back to real life, he's gonna, Well, he can't maintain the same level because he doesn't have that knowledge.
Right.
But now he knows CPR. Now he knows, he knows a lot of stuff.
True.
He could dedicate himself to being an EMT, but he's not going to. But because that's life, we go through stages. Life is just waves of different stages, and he's going to be better. He's going to have changed after this experience for sure.
Yeah.
But he's probably going to revert a bit to be a bit more selfish, because he's human.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
He's no longer a god. He's not the god, but a god.
I am a god.
I'm a god.
Well, I saw in your notes, by the way, that the director or writer of the movie is Buddhist, or at least has some Buddhist background, and he, according to his imagination, Phil is stuck in the time loop for 10,000 years, because that's how long Buddhism says it takes to truly enter into another state of being or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the director said it takes 10,000 years for a soul to evolve to its next level. Therefore, in a spiritual sense, the entire arc of Groundhog Day spans 10,000 years. but he still estimates, like, that was like the original idea, but he estimates that it's probably like 10 years. That's what he said to a reporter. And then he said, I think 10 years too short. It takes at least 10 years to be good at anything.
Yeah, 10 years is too short.
Too short. So
he couldn't become a master at piano and ice sculpting.
Right.
With all the other stuff he's doing in just 10 years, I think.
Mm-hmm. So one of these websites estimates that he was there for 12,395 days or 34 years in the time loop because, like you said, how long does it take to learn all of these skills, memorize all the Jeopardy questions?
Card throwing as well.
Card throwing. He's an expert.
Yeah.
And there's probably a million other things that we just don't see on screen that we could assume he's an expert at. Mm-hmm. So does that 34 years ring true with you?
I think 34 years is a believable amount of time. I do kind of like the idea of 10,000 years, though. It really there's a deep meaning there.
That he was tortured.
That he was there for an eternity. He was there for so long that he truly became a different person by the end. Like he was there for multiple lifetimes.
I don't know. That is unreasonable cruelty and torture. 10,000 years. I don't know. I think after 10,000 years, I would just, I don't know. I'd probably turn into like a tree. I would just not move.
They don't ever show him just refusing to get out of bed one of his days.
He always gets up at 6.
He always gets, I know. If I was in a time, he always goes to work. He always goes to the Groundhog Festival. If I was in a time loop, like, I'm just in bed the rest of the day.
Right. I mean, he doesn't always go to work. Like, he does. He just says, he blows it off.
He goes to the diner instead. But he still gets up with everybody else at 6.
Right. But, like, okay, let's say you put someone in a room, okay, and you lock them in there and you say you have to, like, I don't know, you have to beat this video game. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, you try it for a long time, but it's like an impossible video game and you don't let them leave. Eventually they just like give up. Okay, they go through phases, sure, distract themselves with everything else, but I don't know, eventually, like, I don't know, they have instances where people have been held hostage or something for underground in jail. Well, if you have someone in solitary for, I don't know, 20 years, it's a little different. But technically, I don't know, it just seems that they would eventually just like break down and lose track of time and space and not do anything. That would be my guess.
They would just...
It would just be like in a sensory deprivation
Just
tank.
not do anything. Just refuse to even engage.
And eventually, like, just shut down their brain, go insane, and their brain would just stop working.
Well, maybe if Phil had done that, he never would have gotten out. But because he made the best of his situation.
If it was 10,000 years, his brain would have just shut down. He would have gone insane.
Well, I don't know. Because I think part of the mechanic of the thing is that even though his consciousness continues, he doesn't age, right? So it's as if even his mind to some extent resets in the sense that like his mind won't become too old to continue. Like in some sense, his whole being resets.
It's not like he gets Alzheimer's or something.
Yeah. He won't get Alzheimer's because like.
So you're saying he can't get mental sickness like a psychotic break? I mean, he definitely went psycho.
Yeah, I know. He could have a spiritual sickness.
Okay, but like, can he lose his mind and go completely insane?
I'm not sure because
Like,
then maybe the next day would come and at 6 a.m. he'd be sane again. I don't know.
Right,
but
it does seem like he does crack.
Yeah,
but maybe there's some limit if he's stuck there for 10,000. I don't know. The mechanic doesn't even make sense to me. How he could like be there for 10,000 years and be stopped from going insane while having the same memory and conscious.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
it's interesting. It's because we can't fully disconnect the mind from the spirit if we believe the spirit is even a thing. Mm-hmm. But
like just regular life, I gotta say, I think I think the human brain is built for 100 years. Even if you like, were impervious to sickness and most mental disease, I think just like your regular brain would just, I don't know.
Maybe. I do think part of the point, though, of Groundhog Day is that it has to be so long that he has to give up on ever getting out. And that's part of what gets him out, I think. That he is just living for his existence at this point. And he's just trying to, he gets up every day and he tries to do good things for the Punxsutawney people because he has gotten to a point where this is the best way he can live in this existence. And it's about that existence. It's not about getting out. It's not about preparing for what comes after. He no longer even believes that he's getting out.
I don't even know if I would reach that point, like where I say, like I would do it just to not be bored.
I hear you.
I wouldn't just like be like, I have reached enlightenment. This is like the ultimate way of living, to live this crazy routine every day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I would never get to there. And I think it's crazy that he got there.
Yeah, well,
because I don't think he's that much better of a person than I am.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's that's why it is a story where the main character reaches a place that the point is not necessarily that this is what everybody would do, but that he triumphs. He reaches a redemptive state in his own personal character arc that is good. Not to say that that's what it would happen for everybody, that is normal, but that's what is good.
Mm-hmm. So I think that this like would still be kind of a criticism of the movie and why other movies like Palm Springs and Russian Doll take more of like a realistic approach. Like to get out of the loop, to be perfect, to get out of the loop, like it's a tough message. Like at the end of the day, yeah, being selfless, fine. But being perfect, it becomes less relatable.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, you know, in Palm Springs, Andy's just kind of given up. He's not bad. He still feels bad about doing bad things to people. He still says, like, oh, you know, don't just, like, shoot people for the fun of it. But he just, like, kind of sits in a pool all day. He's gotten tired of it. And he has his routine, and he just does it. And by the end, he actually becomes so comfortable that he doesn't really want to leave. He's, like, scared of what's out there and, like, continuing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like that could happen as well.
Yeah, like, you'd be relieved to get out, but you'd probably be scared. Like, you're just so used to it, you don't even know. It's like in Shawshank when they were institutionalized.
That's institutionalized.
And they're like, "What was institutionalized, Red? I think you're talking out of your ass." And he's like, "No, that's what happens because like when this old guy who lived his whole life in prison for doing a serious crime when he was younger, he gets out. He's nobody out there.
Mm-hmm.
He was somebody in prison. He was in charge of things. And in Punxsutawney, Bill is a god.
Mm-hmm.
Outside, he's nobody. He's back to having to think about consequences, back to every decision he makes affects things, having to plan for the future. It's a complete different mindset. It's a complete reset. And like in Shawshank, the guy kills himself because he can't handle being like a grocer after all this time. He wants to go back to prison. He tries stabbing someone.
Not the main character or the semi-main character, one of the side characters.
Right.
In case nobody saw Shawshank Redemption, I just didn't want people to think like, oh my gosh, the main character kills himself in Shawshank. But so there's a line in Ethics of the Fathers, which is a collection of sayings from Jewish rabbis through the years, compiled in medieval times. There's a line that someone who accepts the burden of Torah or the burden of serving God escapes the burdens of worldly responsibility. But someone who rejects the burden of serving God takes upon himself the burdens of worldly responsibility. So it could be there's something going on there with the end of Groundhog Day, which is because he has now taken on the burden of being a selfless person and living for others, even leaving the time loop and entering into real life again isn't such a heavy burden because that's the beauty of it.
Sounds like the train of thought went off the railways there for a second.
Well, because it's a mythical point. You can't really explain it like this is how it works. Like, oh, well, is that how it works? Well, hopefully.
Right. Well, how I was kind of interpreting that when you were saying it was there's living your life with conviction and certainty.
Yeah.
and then there's living your life with probabilities and weighing decisions and uncertainty. And it seems like from a religious point of view, if you have conviction, you know what your goal is in life, you don't question it, you'll be happier, and you're doing your service to God or whatever. That's what religion promotes.
Yeah.
The modern world promotes more of this, find yourself, find what you think is important. Each person is different. Things exist in probabilities. Nothing is certain. You just have to make a decision and weigh the consequences, and that'll be what happens, will happen, and you'll have to deal with the consequences. Religion tells you this is what you do it, you'll be happy, you'll be, rewarded, or you won't be punished, and so in, Bill Murray, when he's living in this time loop, he has conviction, he is certain about everything. He's reached, and Andy in Palm Springs, he's reached, he knows what's going to happen. He's not worried about anything because he doesn't really have to be worried at some point. Initially he's worried. He doesn't know what's happening, but he doesn't know what, he knows what tomorrow will bring. Everything's always the same. And so like in our lives, we have this choice to make. We have, the conviction doesn't have to come from a religious source necessarily. But definitely having conviction will make things easier for you I think, in my opinion. And you could have conviction in the wrong things, and be wrong about it. But I think having conviction gives you certainty in life and makes you less anxious, happier in a certain sense. So it's not really a good or bad. I think probably the balance between the two is ideal. But, I've been thinking about this.
What are the two?
Conviction versus
flexibility,
uncertainty.
Yeah.
Uncertainty isn't good, then it's not bad. Conviction could be good, could be bad. And, I was just thinking about this because I'm not, particularly religious at this point. And I think a lot of that has to do with how I see the world, is different than from you. I think you have a lot of conviction in your beliefs about what's going to happen to us when we're dead. What do people, is there a God? Or is there a purpose? Is there true objective morality? All these questions, you have answers for because you have conviction. I think I live my life questioning everything. I think it's a more academic point of view because I think from a scientific point of view, everything is probabilities and it's just weighing the probabilities. So while I believe it to be a more true sense of the universe, I think, I probably am less happy for some of it. But probably a balance would be ideal.
Yeah, I think a balance is needed. Jordan Peterson talks a lot about order and chaos. This sounds very much like that sort of dichotomy. He even maps it onto parts of the human psychology that there's actually a need for order and a need for chaos in the sense that chaos being uncertainty and order being conviction. So that a healthy human psychology is one that it lives in a state of balance between those two things that has both of them. There can be great harm in being convinced of things that are wrong.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
But, let's say the example of, okay, you could do something bad and get, you could rob someone, get $1 billion, and there's a 99.99% chance you won't be caught.
Mm-hmm.
Someone with conviction will say, I don't care. I don't care about the probabilities. It doesn't come into play at all.
It's not about getting caught.
It's not about getting caught. Someone who lives their life with, okay, no one will, there's a 99% chance that no one will even be harmed or know about it or remember it. Okay, so it's not just like someone's going to get harmed, it's just you're not going to get caught. It's 99% chance that you're not even going to hurt anyone. But there's a 0.001 chance that you will.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, is there any point where you're okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Where you would do it? Well, I'm asking you. I don't know.
Oh, you're actually asking me.
0.0001 chance that like...
Is there a point where there's such a low chance that any harm will come,
Yeah.
but there is a chance that significant harm will come?
Yeah, it's just very, very small.
So is there a point where I would just go for it?
Yeah.
What exactly am I doing?
You're ruining someone's life and taking all their money.
So in the scenario where no one is harmed, how does that play out? What happens to the person?
It's
an NPC.
It's an NPC. Yeah, I don't know. It's they get their money too. It's a scientific experiment that you're performing in a lab with parallel universes. I don't know. You're cloning. No one in that other universe is going to get harmed with point. Yeah, I don't know.
You should strive to live your life in a way that is unconcerned with whether you will get away with doing something bad. You should strive to live a life that recoils at the very thought of harming somebody, taking their money, and beating them to the ground, even if you were then told that actually this is just a simulation and no one will be harmed and you'll get $1 million out of it. You should strive to become a person who is disgusted even by the act of doing that. And the $1 million means nothing. Am I that person? Absolutely not. So to answer honestly, I don't know. There would be a temptation for sure, depending on the situation. But ideally, you shouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. You know, it's also interesting, maybe if you're stuck inside that time loop, if you're Bill Murray, you think about, like, there is a small probability that hurting this person will be forever or something.
Because
assuming that...
This might be the last day.
This might be the last day. I'm stealing from someone. I'm, the guy that he steals $1 million from some guy at a bank.
He does steal a large bag of money in the movie.
Yeah.
From the truck.
And what happens to that? He probably uses that money to, get EMT lessons and learn the piano. But like,
wait, you're saying he stole that bag also on his last day?
No, I'm saying not on his. Well, no, but
or in his altruistic phase.
But even in his altruistic phase, there were still consequences of him doing bad things in the past that ultimately led to that last day. So in the last day, he's not stealing, but he did hurt someone on the way to there.
Uh-huh.
And he used that money probably like, I don't know, what, you think he... I don't think he just got a job and then said, okay, I earned this money, and so now, like, he couldn't even use that money later. Like, I don't think he got any of the money morally.
Wait. All the money he spent on anything he spent it on was money he had beforehand. He couldn't keep, unless he...
Well, he robbed.
He robbed...
So you think to do all of the altruistic things, he used his own money?
Yeah, because when he was in the altruistic phase, I don't think he stole the bag of money. When he was in the hedonistic phase, he stole the bag of money. He probably spent it on that day. But he had to spend it in that day because then once the next day comes, he no longer has that money. He has to steal it again.
But let's think about this from a different perspective of what is he doing when he's using money, right? He doesn't have infinite money. He has $10,000, let's say, in his bank account. But he's spending that over and over and over until he's spent $1 million. But what you're doing when you're giving your money to someone else, it's an exchange for something from them, their value that they're giving to you. Mm-hmm. When he's going to that piano teacher day after day after day, he is taking from her and stealing. And she's never getting that back. She just thinks on the last day, wow, yeah, I taught him in one day. Isn't that amazing? He's stolen that from her and she gets nothing.
Well, that's interesting. From her perspective, she only worked for one day. Or not even a whole day, obviously.
Okay, but we just said that it's not moral to stab people. They still felt that pain. Oh, you're saying...
I don't think she felt...
She, in that other universe, still got paid, but she didn't...
I don't accept this multi-universe thing. I don't think this is a necessary thing.
In that other clone of her.
I don't even accept the
clone. She got
either.
$10.
Yes.
She was happy, but she stopped existing. Like, if you knew that someone was going to stop existing and then you took all of their time on their last day of existence.
It's an interesting question. Is he taking advantage of the fact that no one else around him knows that they won't exist after today?
Yeah.
Right. None of them know this. So he's taking advantage of them because they're acting as if everything's normal. So he's banking on them making rational decisions as if there will be a tomorrow without telling them that, hey, actually, none of this is going to matter because tomorrow you're not going to exist.
Right. He might have even gone to people and said, here's $10. I'll give you $1,000 tomorrow if you give me a lesson or something. Promising them things in the future. But that's what he's doing anyways when he just gives them money that day. They're under the impression that they're going to be able to spend this money, and they're investing their time right now for the future.
That's very interesting, Benji.
So Bill Murray, not an altruist.
So now I'll try to think seriously about this. I don't think he is obligated to tell the people around him that they're not going to exist the next day, or rather that the past 24 hours are going to be reset. One, because no one will believe him, and it won't benefit anyone to tell them this. So practically, it's unconstructive, and even morally, it's not imperative because you're not helping anyone by telling them this. So I don't think he has any sort of obligation, and behaving in a way that follows moral laws and rationality, assuming that there is a tomorrow, because that is the way everyone else is behaving. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. He's not taking advantage of people by not telling them that actually this won't matter. Because, first of all, who's to say it doesn't matter? For that iteration of that person, this is their existence. So even if, so you might argue that they would behave differently if they knew. Because they would not spend 2 hours teaching Bill Murray the piano on that day if they knew that it was going to reset.
They'd spend the time with their family or something.
Right.
It's like if you knew the universe was going to end today, if there were aliens, Vogons coming to blow up Earth, I would think it's your moral imperative to tell everyone, hey, Vogons are coming, you're all going to die, spend your time wisely.
I don't know.
I mean, the alternative is everyone just panics and is sad and...
Right.
But
maybe it's better not to know.
Maybe, but it's their choice.
That's possible. So, yeah, I don't know. You can raise these questions. I definitely don't. I don't really take it seriously. It's an interesting thought experiment. Because also, it raises the question of: do you have a moral obligation to the whole person, including their past, or just to the present person? Meaning, the present person that I'm seeing in this iteration of Groundhog Day won't exist tomorrow, but their past still existed. And they will still exist tomorrow just as a new iteration of this day. So this particular last 24 hours will have not existed, but everything before that will still exist. So there is still a person that will exist tomorrow that is this person. So just these last 24 hours, do I have such a moral imperative to the version that is these last 24 hours to, tell them all the information I know so that they can make their optimal decision just for this version? I'm not sure. I don't know if that's necessarily a moral imperative.
It's tough, but I do want to introduce a fourth interpretation.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
So we said parallel universes, NPCs, clones.
And there was already a fourth by me, which was none of those.
None of those. Okay, whatever that means.
Explained it.
I think it's just clones. But the fourth is God. I know. I know, guys. Okay. I know.
Yeah.
Hold your horses.
This is exciting.
For the story's sake.
Right.
So, okay. In Russian Doll, it's kind of unclear who's set this time loop into who stuck them in this time loop to begin with. But towards the end, it seems like they are just dead and they're in purgatory.
Okay.
In which case, it is God, whatever that means, who stuck them there.
Okay.
In the case of Palm Springs, we said it's just happenstance, in which case there's a lot more questions, whatever. It's quantum mechanics, whatever that means. In Rick and Morty, it was, Rick, the scientist, and Futurama. In Groundhog's Day, it is ambiguous.
Mm-hmm.
But in the case of they are dead, in the case where it's God who put them in this time loop, the moral imperative or the moral onus is on God, I would say. So they don't, if they start, raping people, killing people the first few days, then, who are these people? Are these NPCs? Are they real people? Did they really experience this? Are they clones? In that case, God has set this about, so it's on him. He's set this experiment into being, into happening, into motion. There's no more onus on the person stuck in it. It's all up to God.
The person who is stuck in this time loop no longer has a responsibility to examine their behavior?
In terms of what it means, yeah, they still do. Just like if you believe in God, or if you don't believe in God, you should still examine your behavior. Just like in Palm Springs, they still
or even
examine their behavior.
Using the words "examine your behavior" might even sound too religious. I should have just said this person is no longer responsible for his behavior.
He is, but to a certain extent. Like we said, you're going to be taking advantage of people either way. You're going to be not telling them that their life is about to end. You're going to there's no way to go through the day realistically, if God put you there, without causing harm to others. So in that sense, it's understandable that you're going to go through this, that you're going to wind up taking advantage of people, but that's not on you. In the same sense that when Rick gave Morty this remote to send himself back in time, Morty didn't know that he was killing other people. Actually, he just thought like, oh, the universe just resets. The moral onus is all on Rick because he knew what he was doing and putting him into this.
Yeah, because the killing of the other Mortys by Morty and Rick and Morty, that was completely inadvertent by Morty. He had no knowledge of that. He had no responsibility for it because he didn't know about it.
But he also thought, oh, these were like NPCs or something. He didn't know if these were real people or not.
These people being...
the ones that he would also, pull down their pants or whatever. If he, not just to himself, but doing things to others.
Well, okay, so the two can be easily separated. They're two different discussions. He might be responsible for the bad behavior he did to other people during this whole time, but he's not responsible for killing himself in other universes.
No, but I'm not referring to that. Obviously he's not responsible for himself, killing himself.
Okay.
I'm talking about even hurting others. I think if you stuck a person in jail with other people and didn't let them leave and they started hurting each other, you can't be like, oh, see, it's all on you guys. You guys should have been better people. You stuck them in there in the first place. What are they going to do? They're going to start beating. Like if you put the circumstances that okay, this is like that prison experiment. Stafford prison experiment where they set people, some people are going to be the guards, some are going to be the prisoners. The guards start taking advantage of the prisoners, beating them because it's part of the system that's set up by the experimenters. But that's on the experimenters. Or you could say it's no one's fault, but they set it up in the first place. They put them into that situation. So it's into this, unrealistic situation. So I think that they don't have as much responsibility for their own behavior. They have some, but when you force someone into such a thing like a never-ending time loop or an island where they can't escape from with other people, and it turns into Lord of the Flies, it's inevitable, and it's not on them for behaving this way. Which does talk a lot deeper about the differences between maybe conservative or liberal thought, in society in general. If someone steals from someone, is it because the system pushed them to do it and they're not responsible for their actions, or is there never justification for stealing from other people? It's a classical dilemma.
A person can always be judged where they are. Meaning, you never are allowed to completely abandon responsibility for your actions. The conditions that you found yourself in could, of course, mean that you should be judged differently than if you were in a different situation, right? Meaning, the circumstances that you find yourself in and the temptations that you're up against are part of how you're ultimately judged. And of course, when I say ultimately judged, I'm saying only God judges in this way. Only God knows the person's heart. But you never have the freedom to just completely throw caution to the wind and say, like, well, because of the situation that I'm in, I now can truly do anything I want. You're always facing some moral quandary that requires attention, and you always have some ability to do better or worse. So that basic responsibility never really goes away, no matter what situation you're in.
Okay. I hear what you're saying, that like how you're judged, if you are, really desperate, if you're on an island and then you do something bad, then you'll be judged more leniently than if you had everything fine and then you still did something bad.
Yeah, and indeed, in the case of Groundhog Day, maybe it is the case that nobody could possibly go through the Groundhog Day experience and not go through a hedonistic phase, right? Anyone who's in the Groundhog Day time loop would go through some phase where they're like, well, it doesn't matter, so I'll just do whatever I want every day and try to maximize pleasure.
Well, I'm not even talking about hedonism. I'm talking about sadism.
Oh.
Where you just start
maybe
kidnapping people and just shooting people because you're bored.
Maybe that is expected, that you don't fall to sadism. It would be a darker movie, of course.
I mean, he does kidnap. He drives off a cliff, commits suicide, but he kills the groundhog.
He kidnaps the groundhog.
I don't know if he
and kills the groundhog.
Yeah, in Palm Springs, I think they kill people, but they don't explore it too much because it's also like awkward as an audience. That's
because you want to keep rooting for these characters,
right? But that's an important thing, that if it was truly independent, it would just be God or whoever set this experiment into motion, up to them to judge.
Okay.
The problem is there's also the audience who is aware of this.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, if Bill Murray, which we haven't really discussed, is Bill Murray stuck in this because of God or not?
So I think God was implied in my explanation. I wasn't saying God because I don't know.
Which explanation? Like of
my
how it works?
Yeah, of how this is working. Because like everything that you offered just seemed extra. You don't really need it. It's like, no, it's just happening.
But your explanation of it's a single universe.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
God is kind of implied, especially because there's a moral theme to the story that he only gets out of it because he becomes selfless. Like the fact that there's a moral theme to the story, it's like, okay, it's God.
Right. But if it was the devil, maybe it was when he becomes hedonistic.
Right. Exactly.
Then he'd finally get out of it.
But also, you don't really need to think about the explanation. It is a fairy tale, Groundhog Day.
What I think there. What do you mean you don't have to think about the explanation? I've been thinking about it. We've been talking about it for the past hour. Of course, you have to think about it because the implications of the morality are contingent on the explanation.
Well,
whether or not you could hurt someone in this time loop is completely contingent on what are the other people made out of.
Well, not if you realize that you don't know what they're made out of, and it's not for you to ask that question, and it's only for you to do what is right. In the similar sense to why a person shouldn't beat someone to a pulp and steal all their money, even if they're told by some, executives that like this actually isn't a real person, this is just a simulation, but just we want you to like do this.
You've never played Grand Theft Auto?
Well, that's different. It's truly removed from reality. Depends how.
How do you know?
Depends how.
Someone told you that this is a video game.
No, it's not because someone told me. It's because I see it. It's not reality. I see that it's a video game.
There's always a chance. I don't know. But you said you don't need to know that these are real people. You don't even know that I exist. But you assume.
Yeah, you might as well ask the same question about people in the real world.
Right. Which is the question I want to ask. We've assumed God, has been the reason for why you should be doing something good. But let's assume no God. Why not hurt other people in this time loop?
Why not hurt other people in the
I'm not saying that you should. I'm just asking, let's flesh it out. What is the reason?
Well, why not hurt other people in real life, in regular life?
Well, I'm asking you not because I think, again, that we should. I'm saying, can you give a succinct explanation without just asking another question.
Because they'll feel pain.
What if they're on morphine?
Because it's bad for your soul and your psyche.
But we just said no soul.
I don't know if we said that.
No, I'm saying in this theoretical, are you able to,
no.
to give an explanation assuming no soul or God?
Well, even if we assume no soul in the sense that, like, even if we assume no soul, I can start using the word soul in a different way. we assume no soul, so now when I use the word soul, I mean something different.
You mean consciousness?
I mean your
experience?
Your psyche. It's your character. It's bad for your character. It accustoms you to violence. It makes you desensitized to.
That begs the question. You're saying you shouldn't do violence because you'll be
why not become
to
accustomed to violence? Why not become a violent, chaotic?
No, but the question is, why shouldn't you do violence in the first place?
I understand. I'm working with you. I'm working with you, Benjy.
So you're saying you shouldn't become violent. You shouldn't do violent things because it'll make you become very violent, and being very violent is bad because it's different from just being violent once or twice. Being very violent is bad because
it you live a more chaotic existence. You suffer even if you deny it. Even if you say you're not suffering, you're suffering. You suffer when you do bad things.
What if you're a psychopath and you don't suffer from doing bad things?
Well, then you should try not to be a psychopath if that's possible.
I guess, but I don't know if you could ask a psychopath to not be a psychopath.
I don't know. I have to believe. I can't just believe that someone's just a psychopath and that's it. What, you can never change or become better? Like, I don't believe that.
I guess. I mean, I don't know. Because in this theoretical, we've taken out God, we've taken out consequences, we've taken out societal norms, and I guess we're saying you don't hurt other people, even with all of that, because you'll feel bad. But even if you don't feel bad, you shouldn't do it because it's just wrong, and we can't explain it. It's just an empathy thing. As someone, we don't want to make it sound like we do want to hurt other people. And we probably don't feel that much pleasure at hurting other people. It just makes us feel, we recoil at the idea that all of these things, that doing violence would be good or allowable because all of these things might be true, because there might be a God, because we might get found out, there is society, we might feel bad, we might suffer.
Well, yeah, that's obvious, right? We can never actually conclude that this is the reality, that there is none of these things and none of this actually matters and everyone's an NPC, so therefore I can do... Like, you can never conclude that, actually. It's just a thought experiment. We're at this thought experiment. Well,
right, but we can't even escape the thought experiment.
What does that mean?
That we can't even, not consider all these things. Because we're on a broadcast we're two people, we're recorded, and we don't want to say that we would do bad things. Or we just can't even, identify with it. Maybe it's because we can't just imagine it, or we don't feel that there's any incentive to doing something bad, to hurt someone else. But sometimes there are incentives.
I think we can be more honest than that. I think, of course, there's an incentive to do bad things. Of course, there's...
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. The incentive exists often. But meaning we can create this thought experiment where none of the reasons why you shouldn't do bad things exist. So then is it wrong to do bad things? Maybe it's not wrong. But what really have we accomplished with asking that question, right? It's as if saying, well, what if reality was completely different than the way it is and actually doing bad was fine? Would doing bad be fine? Yeah, maybe. But then you're hypothesizing a reality that's radically different than the one that exists.
Well, if there's no God, which I don't think is the craziest thing, in my opinion.
Yeah. It was
if you're on an island, so there's no society and no consequences of law, and if you're a psychopath or you're with psychopaths, then
adding the psychopath bit is a bit of a on top of this, you're a psychopath. Getting rid of every possible...
I think there's a bit of psychopath in all of us.
Oh, well, sure, but that's different than saying you are a psychopath. That's just you're doomed to
what
this.
I mean is you can condition yourself to not care about hurting other people.
Sure, but then...
So you weren't a psychopath before, now you're a psychopath.
Oh, fine, but as long as you accept that psychopathy is not an innate thing that is inescapable, and it is in fact a state of being that can be entered into and exited out of, then you haven't changed the you haven't added that as a necessary variable to push the scales toward, oh, it's now fine to just be a sadist, because entering into a state of psychopathy is not a good thing. You will be happier not being in such a state.
But once you're in this state, you're happier to be in that state. It's like a tipping scale.
No, see, no. I reject the premise, because the premise, I think, assumes a sort of sanctity of the will, right? Or sanctity of consent, right? I'm fine with it, so therefore it's fine. No, you're fine with it, and you're wrong to be fine with it, and that is a real thing that exists. You can be wrong. Your preferences can be wrong.
Mm-hmm. All right, I hear that.
Oh, thank you.
I mean,
glad to hear that.
like, I hear what you're saying, but I still,
Right.
I don't know. I still have issues with why we are good.
Okay,
I think that we don't truly understand ourselves why we're good.
that's a haunting thing to consider. But yes, there's what to consider there for sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now we could talk a bit more about specifics of Groundhog Day, like why Rita liked him the last day.
Yeah. What's the other option?
Also, like, why doesn't Bill Murray just stay up?
Yeah. Why doesn't he stay up till 6?
I mean, I would assume that, like, at 6,
it resets.
It resets.
Yeah.
Or, like in Palm Springs, he could stay up longer and longer, but eventually he'll fall asleep, and that'll be it.
Oh, like once he falls asleep, he goes back.
Yeah. It's
Oh, meaning maybe he can get to the next day if he stays up, but eventually he'll fall asleep, so he'll go back anyway.
Yeah. Or he'll die.
He'll die.
Dying also resets the time loop.
Right.
And so it seems as like when his consciousness ends, his stream of consciousness ends, then he's reset, which also seems that, to me that sounds like a simulation or something. Like he's plugged in somewhere, and then the simulation just resets. And maybe it's not God. Maybe he's plugged into a simulation, and on the other side of that is like an experiment to see. It's also like in Rick and Morty when like Morty was plugged into a simulation for so long he lived like 42 years or longer, and he just lost his complete sense of self, and he was becoming this person, and it was like his high score was to get as far as possible. So like Bill Murray's score might be to be as good as possible. Could be an experiment by a mad scientist. But there's definitely someone conscious, God or not, some being on the other side that decides to end the time loop.
Yeah.
Same with Russian Doll. But yeah, if it was a quantum time loop, okay, would that make any difference to you? Like, there is no way to really get out of the time loop by being a better person. So
would it make any difference to me if I was in the time loop?
Yeah. Or like, would you expect the character to become altruistic? Because one of the reasons that I think it stays ambiguous in Groundhog's Day is because, like we said, I think at one point, we don't, if Bill Murray knew that this was a God thing, then he would act a certain way to test this, to see if he could break out of the loop by being altruistic.
Well, that's the thing. God knows your heart. You can't test it. You can't fake it in order to get God to get you out of it because you acted altruistically. You have to truly.
Okay, so maybe that's a critique of Russian Doll, because it became clear that like they were stuck in this by some higher being, and that's why they tried to become better people. But there's this concept in Judaism. It's in Hebrew, it's mashalo nishma balishma. If you do something that's not out of altruistic purposes, eventually it'll become part of you. Because I think the idea is that no one is truly altruistic. We only have incentive to be altruistic, to be better people, reward from our community or God, whatever you think it is. But if you do that, like, because it's unrealistic to expect people to be altruistic, you just even if you do it for the wrong reasons, eventually you do it for the right reasons or to get credit.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Jewish teaching is really saying that this is what will happen, meaning that acting not altruistically eventually leads to acting altruistic, as if this is like a mechanism that occurs, but rather that it's better to do good things even for the wrong motivation than to not do good things at all. And if you do good things even with the wrong motivation, perhaps you will come to then do it with the right motivation.
But it's still not ideal. The ideal is just to do things altruistically for no.
Yeah, certainly
incentive.
I think it's saying that, yeah, ideally you will do it with the right intention as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can see that interpretation. I still think that maybe that's what they were going for, actually. But it's not as deep as the idea that no one is truly altruistic, and there's no such, like, even if you're religious, if you're told to do good things, then you're doing them because God told you to, and because you're getting heavenly reward, whatever that is. So I think it's the idea of altruism within religion makes it doesn't hold water as much either. So I think the best we could do is out of incentives that aren't for us, out of incentives that are good for us, and that will come to true altruism. And when we look at Groundhog's Day, I think he also goes through that process. Like we said, eventually he's just altruistic because that's just his nature. Mm-hmm. But I can imagine the process of him starting this. He tried everything else, and then he decided, okay, maybe I'll get a little further maybe I'll get further with Rita if I do try being a nice person. Maybe I should, try to... what was like the first thing that he does that's nice and out of character? Do you remember?
I think it's that he brings coffee and pastries to Rita and Larry when he goes to work at the Groundhog Festival in the morning. He brings coffee and pastries for the two of them, and then says, "Oh, I was talking to the coordinator of the event, and he says we could get a better shot if we set up over here." He starts like...
But wasn't that his perfect day?
No. His perfect day was, I think it begins with him giving this very poetic, deep speech at the Groundhog Festival, or,
I thought that was... Okay. So do you remember what the catalyst was?
The catalyst is Rita...
slapping him?
No. The catalyst is Rita believing him and wanting to stay up with him to see what will happen. Meaning, he's coming out of his right. It's the I'm a god scene. So he's killed himself many times. So then he's in the diner with Rita and he says, "I have been burned, electrocuted, fallen from a building. I am immortal. I'm not the god. I'm a god." And then
she says, "No, you're not. This is 12 years.
12 years of Catholic school talking." But then he starts saying, like, "This is Loris, and she's and this is this guy," and he starts saying everything, and she starts saying, like, what is this, some kind of trick? And he says, maybe the real God just does tricks. Maybe he's just been around long enough that he knows everything. And so he convinces her that he actually is living in this time loop, where this is actually now his 2000th Groundhog Day or something. And so she is kind to him, and she believes him, and she spends the day with him. Right? She says, maybe we should spend the day together as an experiment. And and then she is with him late into the night. They're flipping cards together, and then she falls asleep, and he tells her that beautiful thing about how he doesn't deserve a woman like her, but if he could, he would love her for the rest of his life. And she says, "Oh, did you say something?" Because she was asleep. That's the catalyst for him entering into altruistic.
And then she disappears. She must.
It's the scene ends, so we don't reach 6 o'clock there. It's a little after 3 a.m. when that happens. I think it's implied that he falls asleep, and then she disappears the next morning.
Okay, so based off that, he decides, now I'm gonna live my life being a better person.
Seems
what's the connection? He found he loves her. Okay.
Well, so the reason he loves her is because she's such a good person, right? He says, "I've never seen someone who's as kind to people as you are."
And so he wants to be as kind.
Emulate that as well.
Just to emulate it.
I think so, yeah. Ultimately, we are what we love. That's our real self.
Interesting.
Bill Murray was a good person the whole time. Life got him down. He was grumpy. He was cynical. But in his heart of hearts, he wanted to be like Rita.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he loved her from the beginning.
And so then he wants to become like her, and eventually, like we said, or like I was saying, eventually he embodies this.
Yeah.
Without even realizing that he's doing it to be like her, or to win her over, or to...
I think so, yeah. Eventually he appreciates it for its own sake. He becomes somebody who is happy being good.
Interesting. And it all comes because of love. And you could see... Like, it's easy to say, oh, Groundhog's Day is all about love, because in the end he winds up with the girl.
Mm.
And the same with Palm Springs and Russian Doll. It's all about love. But that explains it a bit more, that he loves her so much and her character that he just wants to be one with that. And he doesn't necessarily plan on it. He just... It changes him. To his love for her and who she is, to become one with that and to become like that. And eventually he does become one with that. And then he gets her. She loves him because she's realized he is like her and one with her as well.
I suppose. I don't know if you necessarily have to view it as like that they're so conjoined together. Like for his own sake, I think he enters into the altruistic phase. He becomes a better person.
Well, I was trying to say that it's about love, but it's just about love for himself.
Well, I think part of the point of the story is that once the love for her becomes secondary to being a good person, then he can get it. But when his love for her is the priority, then he can't get it. He can't get her. He can only get her when there's something above that goal.
Interesting. I didn't see it that way. I saw that the first time he was trying to get with her, it wasn't real love.
Yeah.
It wasn't lust. It wasn't like with the other woman, Nancy. I think he genuinely liked her and wanted to be with her. But he didn't understand what real love entailed at that point. He just wanted to he just wanted to sleep with her. Mm-hmm. It wasn't enough for him to just spend the night, or for her to spend the night, or just to spend time with her. He kept pushing it until she would sleep with him, because he thought that will mean that, she does love me. And
well, I just think that's what he wanted. So when she says, "Oh, this has been great, let's hang out again tomorrow," he's like, "Well, there is no tomorrow for me. I need everything I can get right now." So that's why he wants to sleep with her that night.
Right. Okay. So, but that still wasn't like a pure love.
Right.
Where that would be enough. That would be like a pure love would say, it's okay that we don't sleep together. This was enough for me, just being with you and spending the time. And he gets to that point, that true point by the end, where she just follows him everywhere on the last day, and they spend their time together in a way that they're together within the city of Paxitani, or the town, experiencing everything together. She's kind of like running after him, but it's a much deeper love by that point. He doesn't push her away, and it's not like they're intimate together, but they spend their loving time together.
On the last day, you mean?
On the last day. Because like my thesis that I was saying here is that there was the Nancy phase, there was he loves her but not in a true deep love phase, and then by the end it's a true deep love phase that doesn't require necessarily intimacy. And you were kind of saying that it is different, that there's like altruism, there's a different priority, loving her is secondary, and that's why like he only got to the altruism after putting the love thing as a separate thing. But I'm saying they're like one and the same, because that's what I think the movie's trying to get. That's the true lesson of the movie. It's about love, not altruism.
The true lesson is that, meaning it's not he goes from hedonism to depression to altruism. He goes from lust for Nancy to lust for Rita
Well,
to love
it's
for
not
Rita.
just lust
Right.
for Rita.
Right.
I think it's love for Rita, and then true,
Love
deep love
for Rita. So, okay, I don't agree for a few reasons. Trying to recollect it all. So, when he's trying to get Rita in the first phase, it's the second half of the hedonistic phase
With the ice cream.
with the ice cream and the French poetry. So the issue there is not that he didn't love Rita enough or that it wasn't deep enough. It's that he was being inauthentic. He wasn't a great person. He hadn't become the person that Rita really wanted at that point. It was tricks. That was the issue. It wasn't real.
Which is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I hear
It's not
you.
real, but even more so, he didn't understand her. He understood her in a different way that wasn't truly her. He thought that because she loves French poetry and chocolate ice cream, that this is the way to her heart.
Right.
But true love comes from a true understanding of the other person, and it's kind of, it's hard to really describe what that means because it's an experience. But like once you spent enough time with the person, you know not just facts about them, but you know what is important to them.
Yeah. Meaning,
and so the French poetry,
it's not important.
it's not important.
Right. Rita, right. Meaning, and even though Rita gets excited about French poetry, if you were to say to her, like, that's what your life is all about, right? French poetry, she would take offense to that. She'd be like, no, of course I value something so much deeper than French poetry. But to him, it was like, oh, French poetry, that's the thing.
Chocolate ice cream. She likes long walks on the beach, and
Right.
these are just things that we say.
Right.
But like a true understanding of what's important to the other person is when true love will really come and will really hit.
Yeah.
Which
maybe I shouldn't say I disagree. I think that is a fair interpretation of the story, and that is a thread that you can illuminate in the story. I guess for me, I like the bit about he had to not prioritize it, and by not prioritizing it, he got it because he prioritized something. Because even Rita Rita is a good person in the story, so she doesn't even want a man who's all about being with her. She wants a man who is all about being good.
I mean, yeah, I think there's overlap with what we're saying.
Yeah.
And thank you for approving of my interpretation. Because there's this other outstanding question that we mentioned before. Why does Rita love him on the last day when it's her first day of really knowing him?
Yeah.
And after one day, and where he doesn't even pay attention to her, he's too busy running off helping other people. So my first, superficial interpretation was, okay, when you try really hard with a girl and you're overly, enthusiastic, or just anyone in general, not just women, but like you got to play it cool. You gotta show that you're not desperate. You're not, it's a fine either way whether you seal the deal, because what you care about is being with them or whatever. Or people just, they like the chase. They like to be chased and they like to chase back. If in order to get a sense of of someone else's value, one of the heuristics that we use is how desperate are they for me? How much do I want that? If they're desperate for me, then that must mean that they're not worth as much. So that's like the superficial reading of it, which is true of human nature. And that's what I thought at first. But then as we explored it more, I think I realized that it's not that the reason that she loved him was because on that last day was something that I think he became someone that he could only have been if he really put enough time into improving himself and spending enough time around her and into loving her. It's like what it is she recognized that even though it made no sense to her from a rational point of view, it existed. She saw it in front of her face. So like in the case of, the Morty thing where he spent his whole life with this lady and then went back in time, she didn't recognize him. I think that if, let's say, you or me, or if someone theoretically spent their whole life with someone, lived their whole life, and then was sent back in time to meet the person they knew their whole life, and the other person didn't know them, I think, okay, at first they'd probably react like, what are you doing? Like, I know you, blah, blah. Barring that, if they were given enough tries, they would act so naturally with them. They would know them so intimately as a person, what they're all about, that they would just naturally flow back into the motion of things.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So that's maybe what she was feeling, even though she didn't understand it consciously.
Mm-hmm. That's
what it felt subconsciously. Because otherwise, it's just that like she had some memory of their love which transcended the time loop or something. But or it's just a plot hole. But I like this interpretation that it was just so naturally there and flowing there, that they had spent so much time together in these time loops, that he didn't look at her anymore as someone who doesn't know her or doesn't love her.
He no longer looked at her as someone who doesn't know him.
Who doesn't know, exactly.
Yeah. It was the love was so developed on his side. There had to be some reciprocation from her side, even if for her it was only the first day.
Right. Because it was just, she felt it. She must have felt it coming from him, that this was a person who spent had 37 years with me that I just don't remember. Like, I would liken it to someone with, let's say, Alzheimer's or something, who spent all this time with their significant other, that I don't think, even as far gone as they are, they won't remember necessarily everything about this other person, but they'll know this is someone who's supposed to be very, very important to them, very dear. They're not going to be like, who are you? What are you doing? It's so ingrained.
It's like the end of Chuck. Have you seen Chuck?
Not a little bit, no.
All
it's
right,
okay. It's
fine. I won't explain.
We spoiled everything.
No, we can't. I can't spoil this.
Okay, so I will watch Chuck.
Okay, that's a great show. I really like it. So please do, regardless. Mm-hmm. But wait, about first of all, I really do like that interpretation. I didn't really think of it or put that together, but that was good. But I also do think that the movie a little bit hints a couple times that maybe there's some recollection on her part. Maybe not because like love transcends all, but maybe like on some level, everyone in this time loop has on the smallest level some awareness that it's happening. And some of the hints, I think there are two hints. One is when they're going on one of their dates, one of the iterations where he's trying to seduce her. She says, there's something so familiar about this. And she says, do you ever get deja vu? And that's when he says, didn't you just ask me that? So that sounds like, right, on some level, it's familiar to her that they just did this the day before or the several days before. So maybe there's that. And then also on the day that segues between misery stage to altruistic stage, where he tells her that he's a god, and then he explains to her that he knows everything because he's every day is Groundhog Day. I don't know what I'm specifically pointing to here, but I think maybe that she believes him partially because on some level she knows it to be true, not just because he's saying it. Meaning, and also the fact that she's so understanding of it, and that she spends the day with him, and right, they're flipping cards, and she says, "Is this what you do with eternity?" And I don't know. I think there's something about that scene that makes me think like, if she truly was just a regular person who went from the day before Groundhog Day to this day, could she possibly believe this? No, but because on a very subconscious level, there's some awareness of it.
So you don't think it's just like, oh, she's naive enough to believe it, or he's convincing enough?
Well, she doesn't believe it on day 3 or 4. I think it was 3, where he tries to tell her then too. He tries to say like, I'm reliving this day over and over again.
And he proved it because he knew everything?
Like, no, there he couldn't prove it because he didn't know enough at that point. So he didn't prove it. She just says, if you're expecting him to believe a ridiculous story like that.
Would you ever believe it? Cal, I've been in this time loop every day. We've done this podcast 10,000 times.
I think you would have been a little smoother on this podcast if we've been doing it 10,000 times.
Well, it's only my 3rd day stuck in this time loop.
I mean, no, obviously it's not something you'd believe.
Like, no matter how much, like, I'd have to really have a crazy proof, because we're so
Right.
used to magicians,
Right.
being able. It's not like I believe in magic just because watch a magician's show, But is there some? I mean, you believe in God. Maybe that would convince you that this could happen, like a miracle.
A miracle in order to teach the person a lesson, just like in Groundhog Day. I mean, I wouldn't rule out the possibility of ever believing it. If I were to put myself in the shoes of Rita in the movie, right? Even if I had Bill Murray telling me that, okay, he's telling me all these details about everybody who's in the diner. He even predicts that in 5 seconds somebody's going to drop a tray of dishes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then it happens.
That could be a magic trick easily.
Yeah,
You pay off.
Everyone in the
waiters.
diner's in on it, right?
Yeah.
It's just yeah. Yeah, that would be the conclusion at that point. I don't know. Like, could I ever be convinced of it? I mean, who knows? Like, in the world that I inhabit, in my understanding of the world, right, such a thing is impossible. It's something out of a fairy tale. So I certainly don't believe it happens or it is happening to anybody. But could I ever be persuaded of it? Yeah, sure, possibly.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm a very skeptical guy, but I don't know. I guess there'd have to be. I'd have to be willing to accept a certain amount of proof.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm not a very even the most rational, skeptical person. Even if you believe completely in the scientific method that everything nothing can ever be completely ruled out using the science. Even as outlandish as it seems, then the crazier the claim, the more evidence you need to support it. Mm-hmm. Sure. But that means that there is a limit where eventually I'd have to say, wow, okay, this is the simplest explanation. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise, I just don't understand how you could know all of these things.
Yeah.
Be able to predict all of these lotteries. I don't know. I'd still be so skeptical because it's just so crazy.
Right. It's completely contrary to everything we've come to understand until now.
Right. I mean, maybe if there's worm loops and wormholes, still, I don't know. Maybe.
And the fact that there are movies where this happens doesn't help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's probably someone stuck in a time loop that hates Groundhog Day because everyone's so skeptical now.
But so in the case of Groundhog Day, it helps that Rita spent the previous day with him too, or at least much of the previous day, because they drove up from Pittsburgh. So it helps that she at least got to know him for a few hours of the previous day, got to have some understanding of who he was the day before Groundhog Day.
To then compare.
So then when he's
progress.
Yeah.
In those 2 days, I see what you mean.
Well, right. So then in that scene where he's explaining that he knows everything, it's such a leap. It's such a leap from where he was the day before.
Right. I mean, he did say that he comes there every year or something.
But this is only his fourth year. This is only his fourth time coming here.
Right. But if she knew that he just couldn't do ice sculpting for the life of him the day before, and then he learned it in a day. I mean, he could have been hustling her, but still, I don't know. If you were stuck in a time loop, what would you do to demonstrate that you are stuck in a time loop? How would you prove it?
How would I prove it?
Yeah. Because otherwise, you have to think of these things, because otherwise anyone could be stuck in a time loop. How do you know?
Well, if there was, so maybe I would pick out something from the news or something that happens nearby or anything that happens that could be verified and that would not be affected by me telling somebody about it. That happens later that day. And I would find the person that I wanted to convince at the beginning of the day, and I would try to explain to them that I'm in a time loop. And to prove to you, I will predict, today's the election day for the mayor of New York. I will tell you the exact result of the election, not just who wins, but the percentage of vote that each candidate gets. And that's how I'll convince you. One option.
It's not the most convincing. I mean, you could get lucky, but okay. And
so you have to make it something where it's you couldn't have gotten lucky.
It's got to be 1 in 50 billion.
But maybe that's not a good approach, because then they'll wait till the end of the day to know, and then that doesn't help me because it's the end of the day. Listen, you got to do what Phil did. You gotta
Just be perfect.
well, you gotta spend enough time. You now know everything that happens in the radius of like 4 miles. Everything that happens in this small town.
Everything that's going to happen at every time.
Yeah, throughout the day.
He has to be also a genius, like a savant, to memorize all of these things. Even if you're stuck there for 37 years. I don't know. People are stuck on Earth for 37 years, knowing the same person. They don't remember everything. Like the same few people. They don't.
But I think
can't recite their life story.
Yeah, well, I think that part of that is because there's so much unpredictability and variation that you can't keep it all straight, or it's hard to keep it all straight because everything really only happens once. The next time it happens, it is a bit different. There's variation. But in Bill Murray's case, it's like literally it's the same thing.
Right.
So,
which is another problem I have with the mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
In Russian Doll, for example,
mm-hmm.
things are different. In Palm Springs, they vary a little. There's variance. In Bill Murray's case, he knows when someone's going to drop the dishes.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make any sense because his actions change the outcome of the day a little bit.
Yeah.
It's the butterfly effect. It's chaos. There's no way he could memorize the exact what someone's going to say word for word because there's a feedback loop. So
right. Like, why would Larry say the exact same line if the events leading up to Larry saying it were different this time?
Right. And so you can never truly learn everything, memorize everything.
I hear you. Somebody pointed out to me once when I was watching the movie that the timing is you just have to ignore the issues with the timing. Like there's the first day he goes downstairs. He spends a while talking to I forget her name.
Bed and breakfast lady.
The bed and breakfast lady. He spends a while talking to her. He gives her a whole spiel about the weather. He has a little bit of a drink or whatever. And then he walks calmly out the door and says, chance of departure today, 100%. He walks calmly out the door and then walks to...
And then he sees
Ned Ryerson. Ned. But then, like, by day 4, he, like, races out the door. He, like, shoves the guy who says, morning! And he shoves him aside.
And he's waiting there. Ned is waiting
Ned is right at the same spot, despite him clearly...
Ned Ryerson?
Yeah. You have to kind of ignore that.
But that means that anyone could be stuck in a time loop. They just can't prove it because everything is different every day.
Well,
do you ever feel like you're in a time loop?
The Jeopardy questions.
Yeah, the Jeopardy questions would be the same.
There would be enough things that are
he doesn't, like, it could be pre-recorded also. But he's also just not going to have the event horizon that he changes is not large enough to encompass LA or wherever Jeopardy is filmed.
Exactly. But even in Punxsutawney, the event horizon that he influences, it doesn't cover the entire town. There are going to be, like, the waiter dropping the plate of dishes. I don't know. Why would that change?
He ordered a whole bunch of food that the waiter had to bring to his table.
Yeah, but maybe it wasn't his food that was dropped. Maybe the food that he ordered had no effect on the dropping of the plate.
But in the back of the kitchen, the guy saw him, that's so much stuff.
Well, it's possible it would influence it, but I think it's also possible it wouldn't.
Nah,
I think
the probability of him dropping it is so small. It depends on all of these events leading up to it. If one of them's out of place, then he'll drop it, but at a different time.
No, but these aren't the events that most influenced the waiter dropping the plates. The conditions that most influence the waiter dropping the plate are the waiter's psychology going into the day and the waiter's life history and his state of mind.
But it's all, I don't know, it's all affected even by the smallest amount of whatever Bill Murray did as he passed and ordered that much stuff.
I think it's possible the waiter would still drop the plates.
It's possible, but at that exact moment.
At the same moment, yeah, who knows?
But, okay. Do you ever feel like you're stuck in Groundhog's Day?
Well,
where things are just the same routine every single day?
Well, there's a meaningful line at the beginning of Groundhog Day, which is, Bill Murray says to Gus and the other guy at the bowling alley, he says, what would you do if every day was the same and nothing you did mattered? And the guy's like,
pretty much sums it up for me.
Sums it up for me, exactly. And there's kind of a point there, I think.
It's a wink to the audience.
It's a wink to the audience that the movie is an allegory for life.
Right.
That we do kind of feel like every day is kind of the same and our actions don't matter. But nevertheless, look at Bill Murray in a story where that's actually true, And look how you can still have a meaningful life and you can still do good things for other people. All the more so in your life, you could still have a meaningful life and do good things for other people. And I think we also go through stages in our own lives where, I think in some level we all go through a hedonistic phase, which is probably curtailed by society and by our friends and by the people around us, and the knowledge of consequences and punishment. But like in our heart of hearts, we're in a hedonistic phase. Okay, fine, we're not acting it out because like we can't. But like that's kind of like what we believe at this point in our life. Like I just want to have fun. Like, and then we might go through a kind of like nihilistic or depressed phase in life where you kind of think like, none of this really matters. And again, maybe we're curtailed and restrained by society and by our friends and by knowledge of consequence. So we don't fully act it out.
And the fact that we don't die at the end, or like everything's reset.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't fully act it out because, we're influenced by our external factors. But in our heart of hearts, we're kind of in that phase. We're kind of like, this all just kind of sucks. And hopefully we can get into a more meaningful altruistic phase as well. So the
probably cycles,
and maybe it cycles exactly
back to it.
Yeah. So the phases that Bill Murray goes through are kind of phases that we can and do go through in life as well. So what was your question? Sorry.
Well, my question was exactly that. Like, do you ever feel like that in real life?
Yeah.
Because the movie is not just for this specific case that will never happen to all of us. It's to give a message about how we all kind of feel in our lives, where like, I'm definitely at a point, where I'm always looking for something new and stuff, but every day is pretty much the same. It's hard to like change my mentality towards the same exact things. And, there's the natural course that I could take, pursuing hedonism, whatever, or just trying something new because I'm just bored. And then there's the course that's harder, but actually utilizing what you have and what you're given and making the best of it. And it's just a constant struggle, but that's life, I guess.
Wow.
Yours ended a lot more positive, I think. But,
okay.
We didn't get to talk about Click.
Click. Oh my gosh, let's talk about Click.
You want to talk about it?
Unless it's too late.
It's getting kind of late.
It's 10:47.
We've been going for 2.5 hours. I think it's kind of a lot to get into.
Okay.
But it's not completely separate either.
No, there's a similar something. Maybe just like, let's try to just cover it.
Yeah, okay.
So
So the reason we wanted to talk about Click is because it's, again, one of these magical circumstances. In this case, it was the angel, spoilers, but
the angel of death.
Angel of Death. There was a clear, explicit God character that gave Adam Sandler a remote to be able to fast forward his life. And he took this, he said, this is great. I can now fast forward. Do you want to maybe do the synopsis? Or
okay. Sure, unless you already started.
Okay, so just fill in wherever you think. So he got this remote. He wanted to, fast forward so that the dog poops faster, and he could like get fast forward through arguments with his wife, and he would eventually he wanted to fast forward through until he got his promotion. But the remote learned his behaviors until it basically fast forwarded years and years and years.
Yeah, because the Angel of Death explains that the remote noticed that you would fast forward through arguments with your wife. You would fast forward until you got a promotion. You would fast forward through this, fast forward that. So then the remote started fast forwarding through those things automatically and not waiting for him to choose that. And then it got to a point where when he fast forwarded to his first promotion, it took longer than he expected. He thought it'd be a couple months, and then he'd be like just a couple months into the future, but it ends up being a whole year. So he already regrets that he spent a whole year fast forwarded, and then something very quickly comes up where the boss mentions the possibility of him becoming CEO someday, and the remote starts beeping, and he realizes like, no, I don't want to be CEO, but it's too late, and the remote just zaps him to when he's already CEO, which is like 20 years later, or 15, who knows? Was that
Yeah, no, that was good.
Well, and then we didn't explain the whole story. Do you want to explain the whole story?
I will say, I think I'm fading.
Okay, yeah.
And I think that there's a lot to discuss there.
You've gone on autopilot.
Exactly. I
Yeah,
think
no worries.
maybe we could find another movie, maybe also, and then explore it more in depth. Because I think there's a lot to talk about there.
In click.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Sounds good.
All right.
Cool.
But yeah, stay on the lookout for that next episode.
That's right.
And for now, it's Groundhog Day. We spoke about Groundhog Day.
Yeah. Well,
Maybe the next episode will also be about Groundhog Day.
exactly. We'll see. We know we'll see you at the next episode because there's no escaping.
There's no escaping.
You're in our time loop with us now.
You know what? Let's just do Groundhog Day the next episode.
That's right.
It's
You know
happening.
that's what's gonna happen.
That's what's going to happen.
There's no escape.
We should start the next one with the intro to this one, and then they won't know.
That'll really show them.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
All right. This has been the Benjy Podcast. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Good night.